Hi everyone, this is FaZe and welcome to my channel. Alright guys, so there are some interesting reports that next year Apple might release an all-new MacBook model that'll apparently be made out of iPhone parts. And according to Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, this new machine will target would-be iPad buyers who prefer a traditional laptop experience instead. So for the first time in history, this could be the cheapest MacBook that Apple has ever made. Yes, you heard that correctly. Apple, the same company that now sells a $250 designer stock for your iPhone, might finally be cooking up a budget laptop, and the more I think about it, the more it actually makes sense. So in today's video, we're breaking down why Apple suddenly wants a cheap Mac, why this could actually work, and why it also might be a disaster. So let's get right into it. So here's the deal. This isn't just one sketchy source coming out with these rumors. Multiple sources, including Bloomberg's very reputable Mark Gurman, Digitimes, Ming-Chi Kuo, they all keep bringing up this information regarding this MacBook. So yeah, I do believe this to be true. And just to note, this is a new low-cost MacBook, not a refurbished one, not a leftover from 2020, a brand new model. But here's the wild part, it won't run on a M-series chip that all MacBooks and iPad Air and iPad Pros run on. It might actually be powered by the same exact chip inside the iPhone 16. And Ming-Chi Kuo says that Apple is testing a budget 13-inch MacBook with the A18 Pro chip and also with fun colors as well, and Mark Gurman backs this up alongside Digitimes as well. And all of them are pointing to the same launch window of early 2026, and they're saying that production is actually already underway. So this isn't a product that we might see one day. No, this is happening. And you might be thinking the same thing that I originally thought. Do people genuinely desire a low-end MacBook? And the answer surprisingly is, yeah, people actually do. Take a look at Walmart for an example. They are still selling brand new MacBook Airs with the M1 chip from 2020. And they must be selling like hotcakes if they're still available to purchase. And why are people still purchasing them? Well, because a huge chunk of laptop buyers just want something for casually browsing the web and catching up on some emails. Students just want to do their schoolwork or watching videos from their favorite YouTuber. In actual practicality, a lot of people actually don't really care for what chip is inside their MacBooks. They just want something that works and gets the job done. And you see, Apple knows this. That's why they're letting a 5-year-old MacBook Air still be on the shelves at Walmart. But there is a catch. That old M1 Air has 8 gigs of RAM, and Apple Intelligence, which is Apple's big AI push, needs at least 16 gigabytes for the good stuff. So a cheap MacBook powered by the A18 Pro chip with maybe 16 gigs of RAM and priced around $600, yeah, that certainly looks very competitive. Now, this is Apple that we're talking about, the same company that I just said dropped a limited edition woven iPhone stock for $230 from the fashion brand that made Steve Jobs' iconic black turtleneck. And it's the same company that sells an Apple Watch band from Hermes that I'm actually wearing here right now that actually costs more than an actual MacBook Air. So when reports are suggesting budget, we don't exactly know what that means. Does this mean budget for Apple or budget for most people? Now, only time will tell, but Digitimes claims that we're looking at $599 with an education discount and $699 for everyone else. This then directly targets Chromebooks and low-end Windows machines. But the question is, does a $699 MacBook actually count as budget? Well, for Apple, yes. For students choosing between this and a $350 Chromebook, perhaps not. But hey, it's Apple at the end of the day, so you'll get better quality and overall better experience, especially if you own other Apple products like an iPhone, for example. So you're not just buying a device, you're enhancing your ecosystem. At least that's how Apple will justify it. But now let's talk about why Apple wants to do this in the first place. The education market. That is the whole reason to even enter such a competitive market. Apple really wanted iPads to be what took over classrooms, but it's Chromebooks that actually dominated. Chromebooks are durable, they're easy to add restrictions, and they're quite repairable. On top of that, they're very cheap, with most of them being under $400. But going back to ecosystem, like I mentioned earlier, Apple wants to lock in their users from an earlier age. Once the students who are using Chromebooks in school grow up, guess what laptop ecosystem they're going to be familiar with? Exactly, now you know where I'm going with this. But here's the thing, there was a time when Apple used to dominate classrooms. If you grew up in the 90s like me, then those colorful, translucent iMac G3s were literally everywhere. Schools even bought them in bulk because Apple discounted them quite heavily. Then Apple tried to push iPads into schools, but like I said, that plan didn't really pan out because with a keyboard and a case along with other accessories, the whole package ended up being more expensive than a Chromebook. Now for college students, the iPad is great, especially now more than ever before, but with younger kids in school using proprietary software, the Mac is still the better option, and this is coming from someone who loves the iPad and uses it as his main computer. So now we're here. The Chromebook market is strong and Apple wants to be a part of it. But I have some questions regarding this rumored budget MacBook. Will it be durable enough? Will it be cheap enough? Will it be easy to repair? And will it be affordable for schools if they buy in bulk? That's the part we don't know. But if Apple wants students back in their ecosystem early, this is their chance. Alright, now let's zoom out for a second. Apple's sales growth in general has slowed. iPhone upgrades are not as crazy as they used to be, and when it comes to Macs, they had a massive spike during COVID, then they crashed back down to normal. So Apple needs something that brings new customers, students, budget buyers, and people who aren't willing to pay $1,600 for a MacBook Pro. Because over the past few years, it feels like Apple is really pushing their products towards pro users and content creators, but now with a $600 to $700 MacBook, with an iPhone chip, good battery life, fun colors, and Apple Intelligence out of the box, this could help Mac shipments hit the same numbers that we saw during the pandemic. If you think about it, this is actually not a bad strategy, and for the market that they're trying to go for, I see the appeal of a MacBook instead of an iPad. So now we come to the big question. Would a cheaper, colorful iPhone-powered MacBook be something that you would actually buy? Well, if you're a content creator or a power user, probably not. But if you're a student, a parent, or someone who just wants a simple, reliable machine that still gives them a full desktop operating system, there's a real market there. And honestly, with so much competition, I do think that a new generation could end up becoming Apple loyal again, the same way a lot of us grew up on those old translucent iMacs. If this thing ends up being durable, colorful, and truly affordable, it could be the start of Apple's next big ecosystem play. But as always, I want to hear your thoughts. If Apple dropped a $699 MacBook with iPhone specs tomorrow, would you buy it? And do you think Apple can still realistically compete with Chromebooks? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Trust me, I always read them. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more Apple content, and I'll catch you in the next one.